I was on the land for the last 4 days, so I hope you weren't hanging by a thread, waiting for some answers. Okay, Annette and another person wanting to know, when can they see the big green? Yes, the big green is done. And I had entered it. In fact, I only made it because this show was going to be taking place in Sebastopol, and the artwork had to be green. Okay, I can do that. So I made this giant one, and then I had it hand delivered instead of you doing the JPEG. Anyway, they didn't want it, so I have it home again. Their loss, and actually I owe them, because if they hadn't put out the idea, I wouldn't have made that. So now I have it, and it's pretty spectacular. I think it was probably too much for them, so I have it back. I'm waiting for my professional quilt photographer, Joe Cunningham, to take some real pictures of it. So what I do is really not so good, but maybe I can get, he's away doing workshops, so maybe I can find a way to do a less brilliant photo of it so you can get an idea. It's a Kawandi, but I tried some new things in it. I call it Green Survives. So that's that. Mrs. California Dreamer, hi, wants to know if I ever sell my work, or is it just, do I just show them? No, I sell, but I don't push it. Usually somebody just asks me if they can buy a piece, and I sell it that way. Or when I'm having a quilt unveiling or something, people come, and then sometimes people want to buy things then. But I don't push it. So if you really, you said, oh, how can you own an original? Well, I guess there's several ways we could do it. You could go, or I can put together a way that you could see a bunch, like, I don't know, do you want a Kawandi, or do you want a pieced quilt? And I have lots of Kawandi of varying sizes, from really very big to excuse me, to maybe to smaller. So if you knew like what size you were interested in, and then I could just show you a bunch of pictures, unless, who knows, maybe you already have a specific one in mind that you're interested in. But something can be done. You could get an original. A PinkSallyProductions. Have I ever made a quilt completely of ties? Evidently, she saw pictures. At one point, I got hundreds of tie samples. So I covered all my furniture with it. And PinkSallyProductions saw some of those, wanted to know if I ever made a complete quilt. No, but I made a skirt once with all the points hanging down. It was And I've sewed them together in crazy quilt assortment of stitches on the seams. I liked it. I don't know whatever happened to that. But you say you made a quilt out of shirts. Now that, it's a lot easier, because I'll bet most of those were cottons. The first quilt I ever made, Ocean Waves, it was all from shirts. And that fabric is a lot easier to work with. If you're working with the silks, it's a lot harder to work with. I don't think I'll be doing one of those, but I could. I've got enough tie stuff here, complete ties. It's kind of a chore. You have to take them apart. You have to take that lining out. Did you ever try to make a tie? At one point, I was going to make neckties. I think I made 2 or 3. It's easier to make a quilt. They were very complex, and I don't know, it wasn't much fun, I didn't think. Okay, a J. Veolettina, she likes the idea that I don't quilt up on the land, that I keep that here, and you say that you've got computers and crochet, and you only use the computers at home, and you crochet when you're at your friends, at your sisters or your friends. So yeah, I think it keeps things clear. JoAnn wants to know if I ever had a drone fly over the land. You know, when I first got the land 30 years ago, I had a friend who had a little plane, and I always wanted to get him to fly over it and take me and see how it looked from above, to get that perspective. It never happened though, and actually his plane eventually went down, and he's no longer with us. I don't know why I find that funny. It's not funny, but sorry. Sorry, Dick. JoAnn wants to know if I ever cut designs when I'm cutting the grass. Yeah, I have. I didn't really this time, except shapes. It's almost unavoidable. Okay, MJ Worth. Oh, so she's working on this one. Sujata Shah's Chaos quilt. Either. I haven't shown it. When I first had it on the wall and I took a picture of it where I had finished the piecing, I did it in black and white. I'm being very secretive about it all, because I took my own take on this, of making it not like the original, of changing it. So I'm not putting the pictures up in color either. It's all black and white. Even this teensy bit you can hardly see here, black and white. Because I don't want Sujata Shah to see it until it's done. And then I'll have a quilt unveiling, and I'll have her here, and we'll do it then. Elizabeth. Oh, well, hi. You're sewing right now, right? She turns my bee on while she's quilting. See that? Then we're in virtual and real, and it's all happening at once. That's great. H. Nelson. It turns out H. Nelson is a she, and she wants to know, she's watched my bread making videos. You know, I made these bread making videos on YouTube years ago when I was much more active on YouTube. One day I took a look at how many, 60,000 people. 60,000 people watched my bread making video, The Magic of Making Bread. So she wants to know if since I live in San Francisco, do I do any sourdough bread? And no, I don't, because I don't feel like making the commitment. Because if you're doing sourdough bread, then you have this creature living in your house, right? Your starter, which has to be fed and nourished and loved and coddled and used, so that it's always there ready to help you make your sourdough bread or sourdough buckwheat pancakes. I love those. So I don't do the sourdough. And any other way would be kind of faking it, I think. Oh yeah, Harpsi once talking about seeing quilts years ago at Renaissance fairs. I haven't been to a Renaissance fair in ages. Yeah, but you used to see quilts, and then, if we go back to the 60s, quilts, they weren't nearly as prevalent and part of our aesthetic life as they are now. There's many more people now quilting, and quilting's become a huge thing. So, yeah, I remember those. Those were fun. I've got a few stories about that. But moving on. Oh, so Kath Avalon, she's started having craft bees with neighbors. Maybe 7 people getting together and sharing time. It's the same idea as a quilting bee. Yeah, that's great. Enjoy. Okay, that brings us to the final question from Artylad. Oh yes, Artylad's been part of my online life for many years. And I'm surprised that you would ask this question, because I think really by now you probably know the answer. What is your biggest fear? He asks. Well, I try to find one. I can't even think of a tiny apprehension. Sorry to disappoint you on that. I can't even remember a fear at any other point in my life. I just, I don't know. I guess you could say I'm fearless. Fearless or stupid.